I believe you don't do a lot of interviews and podcasts.
Yes, I don't.
You should reveal things to me carefully. I do bring them up on the podcast a lot.
But I was extremely lucky. I think I talk a lot about it. So I saw 40 polar bears and 11 in a day. In this place, you have more polar bears than human beings. In 2008, I did the 6 continents except the Antarctica. And I thought, now I must just go to Antarctica because it was the 7th continent and then I'm done. So when I recently had this moment of free loop slip, I was to take a ferry and a voyage from Bodo to Kirkenes in Norway. And the weather was really bad. The winds were at 125 kilometers an hour. I got into the gear. I knew I had to walk about a kilometer to get that coffee. I stepped out and the wind pushed me back.
Travel doesn't always have to be about the sun, the sand, and the beaches. Sometimes it can be about warm wooden huts. Sometimes it can be about woolen wear, snow boots, and even the quiet thrill of discovering a whole new landscape in a whole different light, maybe even the northern lights. Welcome to a new and the second episode of The Window Seat by The Holiday Tribe. I'm Pallavi Narayan, and today we're cozying up to a very cold destination, quite literally. This episode is going to be all about exploring one of Earth's last and final frontiers, Scandinavia and the Arctic. Imagine the picture postcard views of the white snow, the auroras, the fjords, and literally every step maybe feeling like you're on the edge of the world. And I think it's high time that these destinations need not just be on your bucket list, they should be on your calendars. And to help you do that, we have the best expertise in the house. We've got someone who knows the lay of the land like the back of his hand, Mohit Batra. He's a travel industry veteran with over 25 years under his belt, and currently he's leading the Scandinavia Tourist Board in India. He represents Visit Denmark, Visit Norway, and Visit Sweden. And he's also been to all these places more number of times than he can wish to count, or he doesn't want to jinx it. So let us welcome Mohit and embark on this journey where we can talk about all the essentials of wanting to travel and how to travel and discover this brand new landscape with The Window Seat.
Thank you, Pallavi.
Hi, Mohit.
Hey.
So I believe you don't do a lot of interviews and podcasts.
Yes, I don't.
You should reveal things to me carefully. I do bring them up on the podcast a lot. But we're very happy that you decided to come and demystify the Great North for us. And I think you should just dive right and tell us, why did you choose this region of travel, or did the region choose you?
Well, I think I got into the tourism business thinking that I wanted to travel the world. So I was from a consumer durable background. So that was a switch, but 25 years back. And each time I thought or I was exposed to some place, I would start having things around me, maybe a brochure, maybe read about it, put things around. And Scandinavia was at one point of time that came around, and then it coincidentally happened that we started representing them. And it's 15 years now that I've been representing them.
Wonderful. So 15 years now, you can tell me that for you, it's obviously not a dream, it's a profession. But let's start with something that's very basic with all Indian travelers. I like to think I'm a traveler, but I don't travel that much. Maybe lots of constraints as such. But to me also, sometimes the Scandinavia and journey around it feels quite intimidating. Tell me that, is it a once in a lifetime trip for most travelers, or can it be beyond a luxury trip for most travelers?
See, I think travel may have been intimidating for Indians 25, 30 years back at large. But today, of course, we keep going back to France and Germany and Spain and Italy. That wasn't the way we thought about it 15, 20 years back. It's just lack of knowledge. It's not intimidating at all. In fact, Scandinavia is closer than you imagine. If you take a flight to London or Paris, going over to Copenhagen or Stockholm or Helsinki or Oslo is actually shorter. So if you look at the map, you see that we are closer than you imagine.
Why does it appear more as a bucket list item, like so special, like lifetime mein ek baar karunga? Why ek baar? I mean, I'm sure there are many times you can see it. There are many aspects. People keep going to lots of what is those thing called? to see the tiger in a forest reserve
Yeah.
so many times. It's not enough, right?
Yeah.
So why can't we imbibe the travels to the north, the far north, in this manner?
Well, there's a lot of people already going the second time now. We're already beginning to see people who've had that whirlwind of a tour the first time, realizing that they need to go back. You need to go back for different weathers. Summers is different completely than winters is. But there is now suddenly this huge number of people that have started to think that they want to go to Scandinavia, and that adds to the bucket list, I think. And we're very glad that people are looking at Scandinavia, cooler climate, northern lights or midnight sun, and so much more to explore.
And is it a myth that it's very expensive to travel there, or is it very inaccessibility? You just resolved it, like, I mean, if it's as easy as taking a flight from London or from Paris, many of us travel to these destinations. So can we talk very briefly about what about the monies?
I think we are used to traveling to France and Italy and many other places, and I don't see that we are far more expensive. But I think that word itself doesn't do justice. All of these destinations are great value for money. In fact, I think if I find someplace expensive, it's actually Delhi, Bombay, and the metro cities. So I think I could.
I find them expensive too sometimes.
Yeah. So sometimes when I'm comparing having a glass of beer or wine, I find that much value for money, much better. Even sometimes the food. It could be that you end up paying an overall extra cost for it sometimes. Yes, it's Europe. You have a different denomination and currency there, but it's also the kind of quality of food, organic food, served fresh. I think there's many aspects. So we are great value for money.
I'm glad that you mentioned food, because as a Bengali and a fish fiend, I'm very interested. And if there are no myths to bust, tell me if fish is really a big part of Scandinavian cuisine.
It is, and but there's beyond fish as well. Of course, we've got a lot of fish and meats, but we have a lot of vegetarian food. And so, yeah, it depends what one is looking for. Or it's very popular to have a herring and an open-faced sandwich, or the cod's really popular, and the salmon, of course, is something that everyone's looking at, and so there's a lot of food that we can talk about. In fact, the last 2 decades, the Nordic cuisine has dominated the world, and we do see some references in menus of Nordic food in India as well today. They don't specify that it's Nordic, but I do see that when I'm traveling, and I think more to follow.
Very nice. So that means there's something for everyone.
Absolutely,
and typecasted into some.
And I think you asked me about also warm food and cold food. So depending on when you're coming. If you're coming in the summers, of course, it's a lot of more salads, it's cold fish or many other things. We have warm climate as well, warm food as well when the climate is cold. And then we have a lot of grills and a lot of, warm food, soups and many other things. So it's one of the most exciting cuisines, I can promise you. It's one reason that people are traveling already to Scandinavia, but it's one big reason they should.
So let's dive deeper into this. My agenda today is to demystify the Scandinavian landscape tourism. I mean, we shouldn't literally, like what I started in the introduction, that we shouldn't just keep this as a bucket list that once I do it, I think there is a movie called The Bucket List where Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman are completing their bucket list, and then they go to certain places which are stark opposites of the world. And sometimes the Scandinavia comes across like, it comes that is so far away and all. Yeah. But, in terms of travel, how do you tell just any normal travel enthusiast, someone who has the wish and will to see many different landscapes of the world, how do you expect them to start planning for Scandinavia?
Well, I can tell you, from people doing a great deal of research to sometimes people taking a picture and sending it to me and saying, we want to go here.
Now, is that Scandinavia?
And sometimes we are lucky that I could recognize some of those, which are iconic pictures doing the rounds. But there are times when you have no idea where that picture comes from. And also it's very important. So one of the first things I tell people that if they're looking at that picture, which is snow-capped mountain, probably a Lofoten picture, which is really something that a lot of people are looking at right now. And then they'll go in the summers And you could be disappointed only because you had an expectation to see that, but you have to go in the winters then. So it's very important. It's very accessible actually. So it's not difficult. It's not a big deal to make that decision. You need to have time on hand. We have direct flights to Copenhagen today. There's one flight starting in 2 days on Indigo from Mumbai to Copenhagen. Air India has already had flights. Finnair flies in from Delhi for many, many years. And most of the other European carriers are flying in, and Emirates is flying in, and so are the others, and many others. So you have accessibility. You can get into any of the Scandinavian countries. You can start with the capitals, go down to the fjords. If it's the summer times, you can go up also to the Arctic, above the Arctic, and enjoy the summers there, and then come back for winters again, completely different.
How many days is that? Ideally, like the shortest to the longest time. Don't say a month, and then of course people can take a sabbatical.
Well, I think what's very important is for most people know their pace and how they like it. I may prefer it to be much slower and easier, and I may only want to do 4 nights minimum in each place.
Is that justifiable, 4 nights?
4 nights in at least the capital city, I would say, or the capital cities. And then depending on if you're driving, you can do 1 or 2 night accommodations, because, you shouldn't be driving more than 3 or 4 hours. But you have long days. Even if it's 6 hours, you're not going to be tired end of the day. But you have also brilliant connections on ferries, on flights, on roads. So the rail network is really well spread out. So depending on your pace of the holiday and how you like it, because there are different age group people traveling, we value seekers. So when we know that 3 extra nights is going to add to a better pace, and you see something more relaxed, I think we'll do it.
Is there a crazy time for Scandinavia when we shouldn't visit? Like, for example, I know that Japan is crazy during cherry blossom, which is the spring season, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe don't go to Calcutta during Durga Puja, or maybe go, but like that's a whole different vibe. It's more than tourism, it's an experiential. Yeah. So in Scandinavia, do you have any festivals or high times when we should be visiting? Or maybe you shouldn't go there if you're looking for a quieter time to sort of explore a new country altogether?
You will see that July and August has got a lot of buzz, a lot of tourists. And so especially some places that are really popular then get busy.
July, August is travel busy all through Europe, and
yes,
and so it is true for
this region as well.
Okay.
But again, if you look at Tromsø is really popular, so a lot of people go there in the winters as well. But you could go to Bodo, you could go to Senja Islands, you could. So you have to just see some of the other places which offer equal beauty, and sometimes I think we are only wanting to travel to places that we've heard of.
Yeah, of course.
And which is fair, but there are many beautiful places, like Ålesund and Sandmore is such a beautiful place. It's much smaller than Bergen is.
There's a lot of name dropping happening. I
yes.
think we need to subtitle it here so that they can all Google it later.
Yes, but maybe you can put some links as well. Yeah.
Yes, I think I mean that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because even I'll have to catch some of these words later.
I'm from Delhi. I name drop.
Nice. So we've covered these few things. I feel that you've also covered certain areas of what it is that the traveler wants to see. Do you want to see something that you have not experienced in your own country, like the sun aspect that you mentioned?
Yes.
But what's this fascination with this Northern Lights? Okay, when we were sort of preparing for this meeting, I mentioned that sometimes auroras get a bad press because someone went to actually witness the lights, and the lights just did not behave as photogenically as they usually do, and then they come back and they say, oh please, this is like an Instagram thing, or a TikTok thing where it looks good because you make it look good, but it's not really that special. But bust that myth. Tell us, it is actually worth our time? We should definitely chase the lights or not?
Well, absolutely you have to. I have to honestly confess that while I was working for the Scandinavian Tourism Board, 2010, and almost till 2015, 2016, I never thought it was a part of my bucket list. I had seen them enough. I'd seen many videos. I hadn't traveled above the Arctic at that point of time. And I wasn't sure if I really had that on my list or not, because I think I probably wanted to see everything I was talking about. And then it happened to be that I was in a conference in Bodo. That's 2016, I think, April mid. Normally, the Northern Lights are already not going to happen because it's too late in the summers. The days are really long. And at that point of time, I still think I was getting up in the night, looking out of the window, hoping that something could happen. On the last day, the Aurora app said it's likely to be that you could see northern
There's an
lights
Aurora
today.
app?
There's many Aurora apps now.
Nice. I
Yeah,
did
so
not
you
know
can
that.
see indicative. It's not absolutely foolproof. It's
Okay.
indicative. It said there's a good chances for you to see the northern lights. I think I was staying close to the hotel where the evening was, and I wasn't dressed in very warm clothes, and I thought I had to only walk a couple of 100 meters. And when I was walking, I was one of the last ones walking out of that place. I saw some three excited people. And these were tourists with the camera, excited to have seen the northern lights. And I was like, oh my God, I was indoors and I missed it. But I saw the pictures and I still went and checked. The app still said good chances. And I didn't want to go to the room. So I was very cold, but outside waiting. Now, because this was really late in the summers, I waited a couple of hours outside. And then suddenly was the best aurora of my life ever. And I think I had a head spinning experience. I looked up and this was very special. It formed a crown on the top. The lights came down dancing like it was a performance or a laser light. And I absolutely stopped feeling the cold.
How romantic. Look at me
It was
smiling like I was there
absolutely
with you.
stunning.
Very nice.
I think it was amazing. I had some of my colleagues there as well. And I started calling them at that point of time. By the time they were out of the beds. And one thing about aurora is you can be caught sleeping inside. So if you are not going to put yourself out there, you're not going to come back seeing the aurora. 5 of them came down. We waited another 2 hours and we had a fantastic viewing of the aurora. So there are days when it happens 10 times in an evening. I've seen them from a hotel room. I've seen them while I'm dog sledding. I've seen them from a sauna. I've seen them from a jacuzzi. I've seen them maybe about 70 times out of the 80, 90 days I've been on the above the Arctic. So good possibilities. On an average, to tell you, it's about 80 or 90% of the time of a chance over 3 nights. But that means you must book a chase with a professional guide and a person who knows what he's doing. Sometimes you need to travel 30 or 40 kilometers inland or somewhere
worth it.
where you will most likely see it. One of the mistakes that I see a lot of people making is going to places like Iceland, which is not bad, and you can be seeing the aurora there sometimes. So there's a very little of Iceland, which is above the Arctic. So there is, of course, on a clear day, you will see them, but you need to be
Maybe
up
not
far.
as magnificent as what you can see in proper Arctic.
Sometimes, maybe. And I think, to be fair, when I was in Iceland, I was hoping to see them while I saw a live volcano. And there was an occurrence once, and there was a picture where the volcano and the northern lights on the next.
Wow.
So I think you see them once, and then you want to see them differently and different times. So there's definitely a good chance. And I always say, give yourself a fair chance of 5 nights at least to a week. But this 2-night visit to above the Arctic and coming back, I think we have to treat nature a little bit more respectfully.
That's a very nice thing to end that question with. And any travel hacks that you are giving everybody, something from your own personal journal page that you can sort of advise travelers to take some tips and tricks that will definitely ensure that they'll have a good time?
So I have to tell all travelers that it's not just about the Northern Lights. The experience in the Arctic is far more than that. I think it's sometimes when you're so focused at just the Northern Lights, it'll happen. But just don't forget to enjoy the rest. You could book yourself different experiences. You could book yourself a Sami Lavu tent, which is a traditional tent where there's a bonfire. You could be grilling some reindeer sausages. You could be grilling something vegetarian. You could be having hot chocolate. You could be brewing a coffee on the fire and having chit-chatting, having conversations, deep conversations around culture. And then you could just step out and see the Northern Lights. So the whole evening is not about just Northern Lights. Nice. You could just come out and stargaze, and you might see, it was the first time, and I looked up and I said, today I know why they called it the Milky Way Galaxy.
You saw the Milky Way Galaxy?
I mean, it looked like, what I'm saying is that I'd never seen so many stars up. I'd never seen so much of dust spread out. I'd never seen shooting stars that we used to wait with a crossed fingers sometimes as a child, thinking that you're going to wish for something. There's shooting stars all the time there. Every now and then. So I think some days are special, and there are other times you see something else. So There's so much to it. The whole experience, I think, is very fascinating. So don't close your eyes to the rest of the experience. Just embrace it.
In my mind, like the whole region is so pristine, white, and how do they keep it like that? I mean, you are representing a tourism board, and you're obviously wanting more people to come in. And we'll go back to the fun stuff as well, but just this one little segue. So how do you think that that over-tourism, which will obviously bring its own challenges, if more people come in, it's a tight-knit tight-knit community as well, I feel, with the concepts of lifestyle, which we'll also revisit. So how does it protect its natural resources, its beauty, its sanctity? And how does it do that?
I think it's just an intrinsic commitment to keep it the way it is, whether it's nature or our cities. There's an infrastructure there in place. There's a high commitment of people at large that we like this to be like this for generations to come, for tourists to come and enjoy it in numbers that are obviously what they can handle. So they're not going suddenly making a hotel building with 2,000 rooms. Everything is thought over as the expansion takes place. There is a plan for a new neighborhood I'm aware of in Copenhagen called Nordhavn. There's a plan that by 2047, there'll be 20,000 people living there. So it's equipped to handle such long-term planning. And so there's just the commitment to it. And then we have another world-class, waste to energy converting plant. And there used to be a time when you took a picture of the Little Mermaid, which is really iconic in Copenhagen. And there were the 3 chimneys in the backdrop, not so pretty always. And they've now covered this up, and it's called Copenhagen. Copenhagen doesn't have a hill, so this is the only remaining hill. And what they've done with it, you can go walking on the side tracks, go up and have views. You could go cycling if you were really good. You could actually come down skiing if you're really good. So it's covered with sort of a grass which is slippery and environment friendly, and you could go skiing on that.
I remember reading and seeing something like this, and I did not know it was about this region, but nice to sort of talk about this. I suddenly don't feel so unfamiliar as I had started this conversation with knowing that, oh my God, this is like bizarre land I don't know anything about.
Yes.
And purposefully I came not so prepared for this conversation with you so that I can be wowed and awed.
Yes.
But let's go back to the tourism thing. So you've talked about how the country and the infrastructure protects itself, and how do you think tourism can also help?
So, for example, there's of course plans. And last year, Copenhagen launched a program involving the tourists, and all the other countries are doing something similar or different. And here, the engagement was to be more sustainable, to be more conscious. You could take a train to the city instead of a flight to a destination or a taxi. You could bicycle somewhere or walk somewhere where you could. And you could use a kayak and you would get points and rewarded for it. And at the end, you could get a coffee or a meal or something as a tourist that you could earn your points, sustainable points. And I think it just brings in a sense of commitment to the larger audiences as well.
100%.
I think sometimes we just don't come with the awareness, and to see that the entire ecosystem is involved doing that, you're a part of it.
You become a part of it as well in the process of your holiday.
Yes. We have a saying, though, in our part of the world that there's no such thing as bad weather. There's only bad clothing. And if you get your clothing right, then there's no weather that can deter you from going out and enjoying it. And there are times when we have a severe weather. It could be 45 degrees outside, and I don't feel like going outdoors. And I just say free loops live. And I'm able to step out and walk out. And even if it's sultry or warm, I just live it the same way the Scandinavians have been doing it in some way or the other. So I think it's a very inspiring word.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, and that's something that the Norwegians really call it the most popular sport. They say that this is more than running or walking, because that's anyone who's committed to be outdoors, doing whatever they want. It's free loop slip. So it's the most popular sport in the country. And talking about Lagom,
I've also done a little bit of free loop swim.
Yes,
I think when my brother or someone said to me, "Arey, bahar barish ho rahi hai." So and I said, "Kyun? To hum chini ke bane hain." And every time I say this, they were like, "Oh yeah, hum nahi." Like no one is melting, so we can all like move out and do it. And you can't let the weather inhibit you from doing what you want to do.
Yeah. I want to, I don't know if you have the time, but to share with you another example of when I recently had this moment of free loop slip. I was to take a ferry and a voyage from Bordeaux to Kirkenes in Norway. And the weather was really bad. The winds were at 125 kilometers an hour. And we were packed up inside the port waiting for the ship. And the ship was waiting for the winds to go down. That didn't happen for 4 hours. There was a small cafeteria with limited stocks, only an instant coffee. And at some point of time, I said, I need a good coffee. I think I deserve a good coffee. I laid myself up. I got into the gear. I knew I had to walk about a kilometer to get that coffee. I stepped out and the wind pushed me back. And when that happened, for a moment, I said, should I do this? Because there's nobody else outside. Then I looked on the other side of the road and I saw one person also walking and making its way. I said, free loop slip. Let's go. And that coffee was absolutely as satisfying as it gets. So yeah, it works when you let it to work.
And what about the Swedish concept that you...
The lagom, I think it's so fantastic. You should get it right. And it's for each a different concept. It's about seeking that perfect balance in life. And you'll never get that perfectly right, but you try and seek. So it's about neither too much or not too less. So sometimes, whether it's going after materialistic collections, or whether it's having too many shoes, or there has to be sometimes some sort of a balance. So you seek that balance and say that that's the balance I'm seeking. Lagom.
And you've actually taken these concepts into your life here.
In some ways, my favorite part of the culture, though, still is a greeting, the way you meet. And when you meet somebody in Scandinavia, and let's say I meet a colleague of mine, and he doesn't work with the tourism board, and I just bump into him, and let's say this is after 8 years, the first thing he'll say, or I should say to him, is "Tak for sist," and that means thank you for last time. And I think it can't be better than acknowledging it may have been just a coffee. It may have been just something that little you did for each other, but you just acknowledge and say, thank you for last time.
I must say that as stark and as vast and as untouched the geographical landscape looks like, these concepts are the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's very warm, it's very human, it's very all-embracing, all-encompassing.
Yeah.
It's not as, edge of the world as the world it appears to someone from outside, like someone who's not part of that community or part of that country or isn't very familiar. Yeah. So you always feel like, oh my God, it's got really sharp mountains and it's got like ice is very sharp and it's very edgy.
Yeah.
But this is just, it's very emotional. It's all very, like the last concept. I mean, of course, thanks for last time.
Yeah, it's very special.
I'm taking that from your conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I can do fluids all that often. Like, I know I do hoga a lot in my life, but that happens like as an accident. Yeah. But this is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the balance is very important. I think that should be the mantra, but this is not what that is about. So early on, you mentioned 15 years you've traveled, but I want to know how many times have you traveled? Or is this like a highly secretive number? You don't want to jinx it.
No, it's not a secretive number, but I don't know it. But I have been traveling many, many times, and I haven't had enough of Scandinavia.
You've not been jaded in 15 years. You've not been like, chalo, been there, done that, seen this.
I think I'm as excited.
Eaten this.
I'm very excited to go back, even to places I've been many, many times. I think I said this many years back. I don't know if somebody else has also said it, that a destination or a region or a place that you visit is like a song. It grows on you. And I think this region has been growing on me like crazy. So I haven't had enough.
Lucky that way there.
I have to also share that it's true as it gets. I travel for work. Of course, I always take pre and post. Or I can take some days off. But then I had 10 days to decide, and I had a place to go for a holiday. And after doing this research, going through the globe and map and whatever, I went back and said, I'm going back to Scandinavia. And that's as true as it gets.
Heartwarming. It's like a little love letter you're writing, sitting with me, just Scandinavia, by way of my profession, I found my true love. That's how it feels to me.
It's true.
It's very like the way you talk about it also, it's like a little love notes here, love note there. They truly see someone who's grown so passionate about a place wholeheartedly. Yeah. Not just about okay, because it brings me, business or whatever. I mean, of course, that aside, just the way you talk about it, I am going to go from this conversation thinking this is doable. Thinking I want to feel what, Mohit is feeling or has felt.
Sure.
But you tell me one of these, give me more of this heartwarming thing, like hit me with your most memorable, like tear in your eye that, I was, sukoon story. From
There's
your
many.
15 years travel, this unginet number of times that you've gone.
There's many,
Favorite
including, I think I remember, 2010 when I started representing Scandinavia, and no one in Scandinavia knew that I had never been there. And I was also busy, and then it so happened that the Scandinavians were here. We were doing a seminar, and I was to present the destination. But this was very early. A lot of them didn't show up, and I had about 7 or 8 partners that sent me presentations to make. I started presenting them. I did a lot of research, watched a lot of...
Presenting in India?
In India.
Okay.
I was presenting that on a PowerPoint presentation or some videos. And so I was very conscious that, I'm representing, but I yet haven't been, and I'm now talking about something. And so it so happened that I went only for the first time the next year. And something I had presented in 3 or 4 cities because I'd gone across cities. And so I knew that presentation really well. And when I was in that hotel, one of these days, after I was there for 2 days, I asked him, I have 3 pictures in my mind. And if you know your presentation well, I was talking to the owner. This is the Melva family, the 4th generation of the Melva family. It's a Union hotel. I was in Geiranger Fjord in Norway. And he says, of course, I know every bit of my presentation. I've created it. I said, there were 3 places, pictures in my mind. He says, narrate it to me. I don't need to see the presentation. When I narrated that to him, he says, got it? Today you're going to go and do those 3 things. And I think for me, being in that place, there was a place in the hotel which was almost like hidden, just like we are sitting here. And this is where the whole restaurant is. And you remove this wall, this is a private dining space for a very romantic, place for 2 people to dine in, overlooking very privately. So you're cut off from the rest of the world. There was another thing that evening, which I used to present in my PowerPoint, was a picture while you're doing a picnic overlooking the Geiranger Fjord, which is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Yeah.
Okay, let's jump to the exact end of the spectrum. I want to know a really funny, memorable, funny incident, like something that has really made you laugh when you, sort of thought back of it again, or have had fun narrating to your friends when you've come back.
So many. I think there's so many. But
again, favorite, something like this one.
What comes to my mind is one of them. I remember I had a bunch of travelers from the travel trade post a workshop. We were there for a Norwegian travel workshop. And it's very tiring sometimes when you're working, but networking and partying through the night and working again.
No,
so it's fun.
Your problems.
But it's fun. And the next day I thought we'd go to start with something which is my most favorite thing to do, is to go on a floating sauna. And this was in Oslo. And we were 10 of us from India. And I had booked the sauna up for them. We went out there. None of them had been on a floating sauna. They said, yeah, we'd love to have a sauna. It'll be nice and relaxing. But you could have a cold water plunge sometimes. But this is floating. And this was in the winters in March. The water temperature that morning was 2 degrees. But they didn't know. They were just thinking they are going to the sauna. And once we were in the sauna nice and warm, I said, now we do the Scandinavian thing. And they said, what's that? We said, we jump in. They said, no way. They didn't even want to come and witness me taking the first plunge. I came, took the first plunge. The next brave ones did that, and they saw that everyone was enjoying. Now, there's someone who was shivering inside the sauna, thinking about that it's her turn, and she was absolutely shivering as she put her feet in. She said, I'm going to only half submerge myself. And we had the video and, the photo on. I said, you're on a video now. And as she had submerged herself in the water, she stopped shivering.
And for the gram, I bet.
So Instagram can make you do things. She had the smile on her
Defy
face.
climate, weather, temperatures.
And of course, I burst out into laughter. But the lesson here to take is that it's such a mental thing. And you can all do it. and you come back absolutely 1 year younger when you do that 3 or 4 times. You feel so refreshed. But yeah,
And I think you should be talking about this so that we can stop Botoxing the hell out of our faces and go for a cold dip once in a while.
you should, absolutely. One should do that.
Wow. I actually was wondering about this. I'm also a water baby and I do like swimming in the ocean. Not so much the rivers, though I've not had too much experience. But how cold has it been? Tell me about the coldest swim that you ever taken in.
Well, if it's water, then it's about 2 degrees normally.
Even in the summers, it's just
Summer is, so I say always colder the better. But if you're going to Copenhagen, for example, you can go to a place called Copenhagen, and there you have a cold water plunge. So they'll keep the temperature very cold, as much as you like it. But sometimes it's about 5 degrees is quite comforting. So you get into a nice hot, you have to remember if you're in a hot tub, then you need to be hydrated. And of course, these modern day, you have sometimes celebratory champagnes in your hot tubs. But then if you're hydrated and you are within your limits, it's good. When you take a cold water dip, 4 or 5 degrees, it's nice and chilling, which will make you feel very, very refreshed.
nice. God, but my heart stops a bit, whenever I think about swimming in the cold waters of you get such extreme temperatures. But you've had a dip in and have you done any kind of ocean swimming or?
So I have had a Arctic plunge also, and I think I'm looking at an opportunity wherever I am and I'm traveling. I feel, there's nothing like being in cold waters, and of course you must have a sauna to come back to, unless you're hardcore. I've done that once.
You're hardcore, no?
Well, no, I can tell you that when I did this, and there was about 40 or 50 kilometers an hour winds, and a friend of mine who knew that I'd been doing this took me, and there was no sauna to go out to. There was no relief outside. Then the water feels better. You go back to the water, but yeah, that's hardcore. But this is something that everyone should experience. It is very comforting, and it's absolutely most relaxing.
You said Svalbard, and I did do a little bit of research. Not that completely ignorant I was for this interview, for this meeting. It's true that the Svalbard people keep their doors unlocked. Like in India also, there are certain places that do have that. They work a lot on trust.
Yeah.
So what about, is that a...
So here it's a
true story?
Of course, you can. There's a lot of trust, but the reason we are there is, like I mentioned, this is an Arctic archipelago. And in this place, you have more polar bears than human beings. And so that means that polar bears can sometimes come close to where the human beings live.
Humongous polar bears?
Well, they are. And they are normally not coming to the lights, but they can. And there is, at both ends, there are at all ends, there is a marking where there is a signage of that you can't go beyond this without somebody who has a licensed gun. It's not obviously to, attack the polar bear. It's only to scare the polar bear if there was to be an encounter, for you to be safe. And the other thing about doors being open, both in the houses and cars, is that you could have and find the closest rescue. So if you see a polar bear, then you can just open the door and get in. So there are checks sometimes that people are leaving the doors open, and they can check that. So you'll always find one door or the car door open for you to take refuge, then you'll be safe.
Wow, okay. I thought that, maybe it's like a hospitable place where even a polar bears can come in. But of course, I know that they're humongous, they're big, they're scary. They just look nice in my head.
Yeah.
And in the, in the comic books that we've grown up with, thinking that they're tiny. Yeah. But I think I saw mine in Singapore, the Singapore Zoo. And that was big.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a polar bear?
Well, I was on an expedition, on ocean-wide expeditions from Longyearbyen to Iceland. And I have to say that I thought I'll see one or two. I was extremely lucky. I'm not even normally supposed to say that, so people don't get a wrong benchmark. But I was extremely lucky. I think I talk a lot about it. So I saw 40 polar bears and 11 in a day.
Wow.
So it was extremely lucky.
Was that like a herd of, what is it?
No. There's all individual ones. They were all separate. They are not herds.
Yeah.
And so they were on the icebergs. They were on the land. They were floating in the water sometimes. So just extremely lucky, yeah. But I mean, it's nature. So you could see 2, or you could see 3. That's enough. I can tell you the expedition I had. The captain said, "I've been on the sailing for 30 years."
You've not seen as
No, he's seen 2, 4, the maximum 5, but not more than that. So yeah, it's nature. But I think when I saw the first, I thought that was it. I saw the first one on the first day, and I saw maybe that's the only one I see. But that's fine, But there's so much more which is guaranteed. I think you'll be excited about the pack of ice. You'll be excited about the Arctic fox, the Arctic hare. I've seen an Arctic fox change colors. I've seen one which is in the winter, which is absolutely white. Then I saw one which was absolutely brown, and then one which is halfway from white to brown.
Do they change color?
They change colors, yeah. And then there's muskox.
As a camouflage to protect
They camouflage, yeah, that's right.
Okay. How come you didn't mention the elephant in the room? The reindeer. Did you see any reindeer?
You know what? I remember arriving into Luleå Airport, which is in Sweden, and just stepping out, I had a colleague of mine, a good friend, Einar, who came to pick me up. We just stepped out of the airport and heard of 20 to 30 reindeers. And of course, he said, "I set it up for you." But these were wild reindeers.
Set it up.
So we stopped, we looked at them, and that's how lucky you can be. I mean, of course, it's nature, but you'll see them, of course, in some places for sure, where they are being rescued or being looked after if they've been ill. But this was out in the nature, and I've seen them many times in the nature.
What's in your stomach? I've heard reindeer meat is quite tasty.
It's very tasty. It's very tasty. I can tell you that I'm a non-vegetarian, so I eat everything, and I'm very open and experimental. But we have a lot of vegetarian food to eat as well.
Yes, we've covered that ground. Yes. There are a lot of vegetarian options in Scandinavia. No one goes hungry, and that's actually very exciting for all of us.
If you allow me to push the limits, then I can also tell you that I was once staying at an ice hotel.
Wow, an ice hotel.
And
I've only ever seen an ice hotel in like a James Bond film.
Yes.
So the ice hotel has beds of ice.
Yes,
everything's
absolutely.
The lavatory also has ice. The bathroom sinks are of ice.
So sometimes they have one to tease you on the way to your bathroom. Of course, you need to. It's like a club where you have showers and your bathrooms and the toilets, and then you walk into the ice hotel. And on the way, I remember there was an ice WC just to tease you. Halfway if you are staying in the rooms, but you need to walk all the way down.
Fascinating. Okay, sorry, we digress. Tell me, what about this ice hotel?
So after we were to have a dinner, we decided to have a drink, and the barman came and asked if we are open for a drink and do we need an explanation. And I was very open. I said, no, we'll have whatever we want. And he fixed us a drink and he gave it to us. He said, this drink's going to really warm you up before you sleep into the ice hotel. And so all of us enjoyed the drink, and we were all raving about the drink. And then he said, another one. We said, sure. We took another shot. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I call the Rudolph's Revenge. And
Rudolph's Revenge?
Not sure what he's talking about. And I said, so what exactly is this? And this was reindeer blood with vodka. So
Revenge is such a cruel name.
It is. But I think it was assuring that you'll be very warm that
Was
day.
it tasty?
Very tasty.
Oh my God. We're almost at the end of this podcast. You made it. But I still am a bit curious about certain things that you may have experienced in your 25 years in travel. And there are certain insights that I would personally want to know, one of which would be, what would be like one of the biggest lessons that you have taken from, from the travel industry into your life, much like the Hoga concept from your travels to Scandinavia. What are the lessons that you have?
I think, especially if it's in relationship to travel, one of the things many years back I stopped having was a certain expectation, especially when it came to weather. So, of course, in India, we have very consistent weather. We don't need to check weathers for almost a few months till it changes again. But today we do. But I feel that having these specific expectations sometimes, having an expectation Because some of us live in really sprawling houses here, and we look at staying in the city center. There's a smaller room to cope up with. Of course, many travelers fix it if it's that important. But I see people finding these disappointments in nature or small things that shouldn't matter. And for me, it's very important to know that you may have flight delays, you may have weather playing spoil sport. I'm actually excited when I have a cancellation. So I think one should just let and embrace, and like we say sometimes even in Scandinavia, let's just be one with nature or what's coming and experience each thing as it comes. Having this, pre-idea in our mind, if I already knew that was Rudolph's revenge is what I'm going to drink, I think I would have found it awful.
Yeah.
But just because it was delicious, and I said a couple of times, it's delicious. I didn't know that I had the taste for blood.
You've been most fascinating, I must say. Your sentence endings have been bangers. A lot of people will be like listening to this conversation, like, I want Mohit's job.
Yeah.
But, do you want to say something that makes your job more realistic?
Let me have a little more of Scandinavia than you can have.
But I think travel, your job, it's not easy. Like, it may seem very fanciful because you get to go to places, experience, and like you said, you've not seen just one of the most beautiful places in the world. You've seen 3 most beautiful places in the world, and the third one or the fourth one is round the corner to wow you.
And I mentioned, I think to you when we were talking earlier, that in 2008, I did the 6 continents except the Antarctica. And I thought, now I must just go to Antarctica because it was the 7th continent and then I'm done. And a couple of years later, I think I matured as a traveler even more. And I was embarrassed about how I thought. And I actually stuck it out of my list at that point of time. So I haven't done it yet, but I have to say I did the Arctic and I went as far as 82 degrees north. And at that point of time, I was also with a lot of other travelers, people who had done Antarctica before. And I asked them and I started researching. And at that point of time, in those 2 weeks, I think I realized it's very special. It's one of its kind. And you need to go there because there's something you see there that you don't see in the Arctic. And similarly, what you see in Antarctica, you don't see polar bears there. You don't see many other things.
Lesson here is snow there and snow here does not mean it's the same snow.
Absolutely not. It's different. And you have to treat it as much. And today, of course, in some ways, expeditions are being made easy and convenient for the ones that want to say that we were there and sometimes take a shorter or a flight route. It's got its pros and cons. But I think you should just slow down life and enjoy it and let it build up like how a movie builds up. It's, if I just show it to you on a flight, you're not likely to appreciate it till you've gone through the Drake's Passage and done it yourself. And then you want to be looking forward to it, I think. So I'm looking forward to the Drake's Passage, actually.
Wow, nice flex though, 6 continents up to 7. Good job there. Almost thought nobody will notice it, like, okay, 7 continents here. Well, this has been fantastic. And I'm so happy that we were able to catch up. And this has been most interesting for me as well. And for someone who did not think of Scandinavia as a destination, I was just playing around with it for a bit. And this interview, obviously, this podcast obviously interested me a lot more into the region because I was wanting to prepare a bit.
Yeah.
But I feel it's doable.
It's
And I
very
want
doable.
to feel what you feel. Like, what is all these feelings about this place? I want to really feel that.
I think you have to go there multiple times. And one of the things I haven't mentioned, and that is that let's not forget where Santa Claus comes from. I know people think it comes from one of the places, but everyone has the claim. For example, Norwegians believe that Santa Claus comes from Trebek. And there was an 80-year-old woman. She said, I'd worked there for 60 years. She had a bad throat. And she didn't know what I do for work. And I walked in, and we were a few of us. And she said, any questions, gentlemen? So she made that effort with a coarse voice. And I said, I hear of this Santa Claus in Rovaniemi. That's the cousin. this is the real one. And I
The conviction with which.
with the conviction, and I said, I'm going to record
वो
this.
Santa का मामा है, वो उसका
Yeah.
चाचा है.
Yeah. But it's so beautiful. And when it comes from this 80-year-old lady, and she picked up a sign, she says, this is the official sign. And these are signs used in even Japan. And these are created by us, of course, but these are official.
Okay.
And it was so amazing. And then, of course, the Danes believe that this is the fairy tale land, land of everyday wonder. And of course, the Tivoli Gardens, for example, is so fascinating, and they believe it comes from there. The Swedes believe, of course, Santa Claus comes from there. Greenland says, we know he comes from here.
इतना demand है.
So you have to, look at that. Now Indians are wanting to go and experience Christmas in the Nordics, where the Christmas comes from, or the beliefs come from. And we have slightly some different traditions. Like, I don't think many other places have this tradition of dancing around the Christmas tree. And then there's glögg, which is this mulled wine that you can enjoy. It's absolutely amazing. So you have to be there.
I definitely will plan my next holiday.
Yes.
To Scandinavia.
You know where to go.
And you've been a point person. I'm going to use this connection wisely.
Sure.
But thank you so much for giving us your time and your energy and all of these stories, these little things that you're taking, letting us take from you.
Yeah.
It's a lot to share so much of your professional, personal experiences with an audience like ours. But really, thank you so much
It's
for
a
all the
pleasure.
time you spent
Thank you,
with us.
Pallavi. You've been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed talking to me as much as I enjoyed talking to
Very
you.
much. Very much.
I
Thank
was fishing for validations. So with that, I think we come to a very neatly bow-tied end of the window seat. And Mohit here showed us a beautiful view from this new region. I hope it's open travel goals for you. And if you have enjoyed, then please do stay on with us. Follow us and share your experiences, comment, and let us know how we can do things differently. And stay tuned for the next and upcoming episode of The Window Seat by Holiday Tribe. We are giving you new views every episode. Bye.